Companies need to start realizing that consumers are not afraid to speak with their wallets and ultimately drop games if the companies themselves are doing things that we do not like. And Helldivers 2 was a breakout game when it launched, and it has done extremely well since release, but now it is being negatively review bombed after suddenly requiring PC players to create a PlayStation account to play. I have a few things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or through YouTube memberships. Now, lately there has been a lot of negative news surrounding Sony, and I've been covering Sony for a couple of years at this point because they are an extremely scummy company who I never trust, but now there is this giant Helldivers 2 situation happening that has players revolting. They decided to release this saying, Helldivers, an important message from our partner PlayStation about linking for PC players and its significance in providing player safety features. It says, due to technical issues at the launch of Helldivers 2, we allowed the linking requirements for Steam accounts to be a PlayStation Network account to be temporarily optional. That grace period will now expire. See details below in this post. As of May 6th, all new Helldivers 2 players on Steam will be required to connect their Steam account to a PlayStation Network account, and current players will start to see the mandatory login from May 30th and will be required to have linked a Steam and PlayStation Network account by June 4th. So, first of all, they had made no mention of this at launch. They did not say, hey guys, you're eventually going to be required to link PlayStation Network accounts. There was no mention of that, which of course has sent fans into a frenzy because this game was a breakout game. It did extremely well and so many people have been loving it. But when you start forcing players to open up new accounts or link accounts, it becomes an issue. Now, obviously, I do think that many of us have PSN accounts. I think a lot of gamers do. But at the same time, this was not a requirement that was made, important all of those months ago. They did not put an emphasis at launch that eventually you were going to have to do account linking, and this has led to fan revolt. Tons of people are saying things like, was this clearly agreed to by customers before they bought the game on Steam? No. Surely you didn't just bait and switch everyone to play past the 2-hour refund window, then change a contract. And this, unfortunately, is something we have seen happening much more frequently within video games. We've seen, like with the Tomb Raider situation, I know that they did end up reverting the censorship, and they did say it was an accident, basically, but there was still censorship done. They didn't add it in the patch notes, and that was weeks after launch. So a lot of people were saying, so you think it's okay to alter my product even though I can no longer refund it? And then, of course, we've had many other situations, like with live service games where you have these online-only servers, and because companies are too lazy to add an offline mode, when they eventually shut servers down, the game is no longer accessible, and it's not like they are, allowing you to get even a partial refund. They're basically saying, well, you played this game for a while, you no longer can play it. It is what it is. These are not things that should become an industry standard or normal practice at all whatsoever. And the same goes for this. If you are going to start changing contracts and the terms that people are agreeing to, you should be forced to refund the players who want it. Helldivers is extremely successful, and it's not like everybody would be refunding their copies of the game, but there are bound to be people who would, and who are going to be upset with this, especially because it's PlayStation and Sony. Right now, there is so much negative news surrounding Sony because of the Stellar Blade situation. You'd think that they would be like, no way, we can't do this right now. We at least need to wait a few more months and we'll eventually roll this out, but that's not what is happening here. This is total BS. I've never even played this, so it doesn't really bother me. However, I can completely understand why other people are frustrated. If this was not required before and now it's changed, that is scummy, which I, of course, totally agree with. When you buy a product and you sign up to use that product, you link the account, that should be that. You should be able to use your account. But now if you don't have a PlayStation account, or let's say you boycott PlayStation, you no longer will play your copy of Helldivers because they're going to require you to connect a PlayStation account. And of course, this has actually led to a very hefty review bomb over on Steam. As you can see, everything was going extremely well for them. Super freaking positive reviews. Over 337,000 in total, and most were very positive, except for around launch there were some negatives because people were kind of upset about some monetization practices, but in general it was very, very successful. But of course, ever since they announced these changes, over 14,000 negative reviews have been added, far outweighing the positive reviews. And of course, people are voicing how very upset they are because, again, people have absolutely loved this game, but now players have to deal with the developers selling their souls to Sony. It says, you know, I was busy having fun, then I forgot about corporate greed for a moment. This is an amazing game. However, due to Sony forcing players to make a PlayStation account months after release, I am going to have to say that this is a negative review. The bait and switch is cringe. Some people can't make PSN accounts where they live, and I have been locked out of my account for a year now with subpar support from Sony, not to mention all the data breaches Sony has had in the past decade. This also is a very important thing to point out, is that more and more frequently we are hearing about data breaches with certain platforms, and Sony is definitely no stranger to them. The game is genuinely fun, especially with the developers closely tied in with the community to provide a sense of real action within the universe they created, but things clearly went wrong when they decided to force everyone to make a PSN account to play Helldivers. Only 73 countries have PSN, effectively cutting off major player bases in other parts of the world. It is so sad to see this happen because they were never transparent that this was going to be a requirement. It's not like with every update they put out, they said, by the way, guys, we're getting closer to this changing, or, you know, even at launch putting out a big press release saying, hey, unfortunately, we're trying to, you know, roll this thing out. It's gonna take a few months. Never did they do that. And now they really are reaping what they sow because their game is being review bombed. They are getting ratioed all over on their Twitter/X post. And unless they today or tomorrow announce that they are not going ahead with these plans, it is only going to continue to get worse for them. And it's so sad to see because I know so many people have absolutely loved Helldivers since launch, but unfortunately, if you are a player, you are now going to be forced to link a PlayStation account or you will no longer be able to play your game. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.